Frankly, Senator Sanders, Senator Warren, and myself are all on the same team. What are you willing to sacrifice to make sure that overfunded police departments are defunded? There is no middle road on the climate crisis.
I not only support a Green New Deal, I don't think it goes far enough. I'm all for a Green New Deal. This is part of what gun registration is about. We want to track where the guns are. We need to cut the defense budget.
Popeyes or Chick-fil-A?
Oh, Popeye.
Are you in favor of expanding the court or perhaps an age limit in place instead of a lifetime appointment?
Look, I said everything is on the table.
But if we win the majority, everything is on the table.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
Change is coming to America.
The blue wave is comprised of those who are documented and undocumented.
We win these races in Georgia so that we don't have to negotiate.
That's their goal. Total radical control to bring horrific change to America. Only Georgians can stop them.
Nobody can serve God and the military.
Raphael Warnock attacks our military.
Police power.
Attacks our risk.
Jesus. Oh.
Accompanied by Professor, please welcome America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani, accompanied by Professor John Eastman.
Fuck, I always spell his last name wrong. Oh.
Hello. Hello, everyone. We're here just very briefly to make a very important 2 points. Number one, every single thing that has been outlined as the plan for today is perfectly legal. I have Professor Eastman here with me to say a few words about that.
Jesus Christ.
I have Professor Eastman as the plan for today is perfectly legal. I have Professor Eastman here with me to say a few words about that. He's one of the preeminent constitutional scholars in the United States.
Was that true? Was he considered a preeminent constitutional scholar? He might have been. I have no idea. Giuliani was a preeminent, like one of the most important, famous fucking mayors in U.S. history. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe Eastman was. I don't know.
It is perfectly appropriate, given the questionable constitutionality of the Election Counting Act of 1887, that the vice president can cast it aside, and he can do what a president called Jefferson did when he was vice president. He can decide on the validity of these crooked ballots, or he can send it back to the legislatures, give them 5 to 10 days to finally finish the work. We now have letters from 5 legislatures begging us to do that. They're asking us. Georgia, Pennsylvania.
That's a fucking lie. I don't believe that. I bet he has like letters from either an elector or like a member of the legislature or something. But the entire legislature like came together and passed a thing. No shot. It's got to be like just members on the legislature, like 1 or 2 Republicans on each legislature. I don't believe this at all.
Arizona, Wisconsin, and one other coming in. So it seems to me we don't want to find out 3 weeks from now even more proof that this election was stolen, do we? So it is perfectly reasonable and
Couldn't he be talking about the fake ones, the ones he was trying to get in? No. They're not talking about the electors. He's saying that he has letters from the legislatures, but there's probably just like one Republican legislature member on each one that like sent in a letter saying like, oh, we want to undo our fucking vote. But I doubt it was, yeah.
To get 10 days, and you should know this, the Democrats and their allies have not allowed us to see one machine.
That's a lie. Why wasn't the vice president loophole fixed before this disaster? I don't think this loophole even existed. They ended up amending some of the language of the ECA to make it clearer, but like keep in mind that Pence and his legal team and everybody went over this, and I don't think anybody really truly thought that this was legal or constitutional. Nobody really thought that. They've patched some of it to make it more clear, but even right now, it's probably wouldn't have been legal. I don't think so. And I don't think anybody credible thought it was legal.
Or one paper ballot. Now, if they ran such a clean election, why wouldn't they make all the machines available immediately? If they ran such a clean election, they'd have you come in and look at the paper ballots. Who hides evidence? Criminals hide evidence, not honest people. So, over the next 10 days, we get to see the machines that are crooked the ballots that are fraudulent, and if we're wrong...
Mark Levin said it was legal. Yeah, I read his article too. He repeats the same, basically, coup plans. He's also a hack fuck. All of this legal theory is, I don't even want to say contentious because it makes it sound like there are credible people on both sides. Nobody credible is arguing this legal theory. It is only partisan, treasonous, anti-American fucks. That's the only people arguing this. Nobody credible is arguing this.
We will be made fools of. But if we're right, a lot of them will go to jail. So, let's have trial by combat.
Jesus Christ. You know what? Since I was listening to all of these, I wish I would have fucking, my God. I wish I would have written down, how many times do they use the word fight in all the speeches? It's got to be over 100 times. Like, it's such an insane amount of times that they've used the word fight. Is there like a collection of how many times it's said in all of these? Jesus.
I'm willing to stake my reputation. The president is willing to stake his reputation on the fact that we're going to find criminality there. Is Joe Biden willing to stake his reputation that there's no crime there? No.
Is there a transcript?
Also,
there is for Trump's speech, but...
Last night, one of the experts that has examined these crooked Dominion machines has absolutely what he believes is conclusive proof that in the last 10%, 15% of the vote counted, the votes were deliberately changed by the same algorithm that was used in cheating President Trump and Vice President Pence. Same algorithm, same system, same thing was done with the same machines. You noticed they were ahead until the very end, right? Then you noticed there was a little gap. One was ahead by 3%, the other was ahead by 2%, and gone, they were even. He can take you through that and show you how they programmed that machine from the outside to accomplish that. And they've been doing it for years to favor the Democrats. It is a matter of scientific proof. We need 2 days to establish that. It'd be a shame if that gets established after it's over, wouldn't it be? This was the worst election in American history. This election was stolen in 7 states. They picked states where they had crooked Democratic cities, where they could push everybody around, and it has to be vindicated to save our republic. This is bigger than Donald Trump. It's bigger than you and me. It's about these monuments and what they stand for. This has been a year in which they have invaded our freedom of speech, our freedom of religion, our freedom to move, our freedom to live. I'll be darned if they're going to take away our free and fair vote. And we're going to fight to the very end to make sure that doesn't happen. And let me ask Professor Eastman to explain as easily as we can. I know this is complicated, but what happened last night, how they cheated, and how it was exactly the same as what they did on November 3rd.
America's mayor, wonderful. Hello, America? Sorry, I had to say that. Look, we've got petitions pending before the Supreme Court that identify in chapter and verse the number of times state election officials ignored or violated the state law in order to put Vice President Biden over the finish line. We know there was fraud, traditional fraud that occurred. We know that dead people voted. But we now know, because we caught it live last time in real time, how the machines contributed to that fraud. And let me, as simply as I can, explain it. You know, the old way was to have a bunch of ballots sitting in a box under the floor, and when you needed more, you pulled them out in the dark of night. They put those ballots in a secret folder in the machines, sitting there waiting until they know how many they need. And then the machine, after the close of polls, we now know who's voted and we know who hasn't. And I can now, in that machine, match those unvoted ballots with an unvoted voter and put them together in the machine. And how do we know that happened last night in real time? You saw when it got to 99% of the...
Is this all just made up bullshit? All of this is just made up. All of this is asserted without evidence. There's no evidence, nobody credible supporting any of this. All of this is bullshit.
Vote total, and then it stopped. The percentage stopped, but the votes didn't stop. What happened, and you don't see this on Fox or any other stations, but the data shows that the denominator, how many ballots remain to be counted? How else do you figure out the percentage that you have? How many remain to be counted? That number started moving up. That means they were unloading the ballots from that secret folder, matching them to the unvoted voter, and voila, we have enough votes to barely get over the finish line. We saw it happen in real time.
I will literally wager a lifetime IP ban that if I were to talk to you in an hour, I will prove that you're wrong. You can hop into disagreements if you want, Sasha, but I've seen all the shit you're typing. It's not, you're typing, everything you're saying is like half true at best.
Last night, and it happened.
What's your level of confidence that these two are knowingly lying? Like 98, 99%. There's always a chance that they're like psychotic, or like experiencing some type of psychosis, like that maybe they're legitimately crazy. But otherwise, yeah, it's like literally 98, 99%. They're repeating the same bullshit lies that there are clear and easy videos disproving over and over and over and over again.
On November 3rd as well. And all we are demanding of Vice President Pence is this afternoon at 1 o'clock, he let the legislatures of the state look into this so we get to the bottom of it and the American people know whether...
What did Eastman get out of this claim, though? I don't know. He was part of Trump's crony team of lawyers or legal experts. I don't know. They get to be in part of Trump's new team or part of the new world or part of, I don't know. What did Giuliani, Powell, Eastman? I have no idea.
Is this afternoon at 1 o'clock, he let the legislatures of the state look into this so we get to the bottom of it and the American people know whether we have control of the direction of our government or not. We no longer live in a self-governing republic if we can't get the answer to this question. This is bigger than President Trump. It is the very essence of our Republican form of government, and it has to be done. And anybody that is not willing to stand up to do it does not deserve to be in the office. It is that simple.
God bless you. And thank you so much for your support. I know the courage it takes to be out there. I know how you get ridiculed. I know how they try to take jobs away from you. But you look in the mirror every night and you say to yourself, I'm doing the right thing for myself, for my family, for my children, and most importantly, for the United States of America.
What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Lincoln Park.
For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. That all changes, starting right here and right now.
One thing, I don't know why, it doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind, and design is mine, it was played too time. All I know, time is a valuable thing.
Did I add the music? No, this is part of...
Watch it fly by as the pendulum swings. Watch it count down to the end of the day. The clock takes life away. It's so unreal. Down below. Watch the time go right out the window. Trying to hold on, but you didn't even know. One second, watch you go. I kept everything inside, even though I tried. It all fell apart. What it meant to me will eventually be a memory of the time when I tried so hard.
Why? Bro, how long are you guys standing out here for? Oh shit, hold on, sorry. Kino time. It's Kino time. Wait, let me use the restroom real quick, hold on. Before this absolute Kino. Where's my American music?
Of America.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Three, okay. Speakers before Trump. Donald Trump's speech. We have the transcript.
Please welcome the 45th President of the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump.
On front? Yeah, my guess is it's probably standard practice for events because you don't want like snipers to get you outside. I heard that the Secret Service complained about Trump. I say I heard this. I read this in headlines again. I don't know. I don't have a good source for this, but that the Secret Service had complained that Trump liked to do rallies outside. And I guess we saw for that one assassination attempt a few weeks ago. Maybe that's why they complained. Couldn't you shoot from above? What, like from a helicopter? Oh no.
Media will not show the magnitude of this crowd. Even when I turned on today, I looked and I saw thousands of people here, but you don't see hundreds of thousands of people behind you because they don't want to show that. We have hundreds of thousands of people here, and I just want them to be recognized by the fake news media. Turn your cameras, please, and show what's really happening out here, because these people are not going to take it any longer. They're not.
Who else was broadcasting that showed? Well, actually, what he's saying is not true because we did. Oh no, wait. It was a different, no, it was a different thing. It wasn't C-SPAN. They didn't show it. I don't know if their cameras turn. Who else broadcast this that did show the full audience? Because we clicked something earlier, but I don't remember which news link it was.
Going to take it any longer. Go ahead, turn your cameras, please, would you show? They came from all over the world, actually, but they came from all over our country.
Right Side Broadcasting probably did. Okay.
I just really want to see what they do. I just want to see how they cover it. I've never seen anything like it, but it would be really great if we could be covered fairly by the media. The media is the biggest problem we have as far as I'm concerned. Single biggest problem. The fake news and the big tech. Big tech is now coming into their own. We beat them 4 years ago. We surprised them. We took them by surprise. And this year, they rigged an election. They rigged it like they've never rigged an election before. And by the way, last night they didn't do a bad job either, if you notice. I'm honest, and I just, again, I want to thank you. It's just a great honor to have this kind of crowd and to be before you and hundreds of thousands of American patriots who are committed to the honesty of our elections and the integrity of our glorious republic. All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. Our country has had enough.
It's probably worth recording a lot of these. Time. Does it feel like the big tech paranoia completely died off once Elon bought Twitter? Yeah. Although I'm sure people maybe complain about Facebook still.
We will not take it anymore, and that's what this is all about. And to use a favorite term that all of you people really came up with, we will stop the steal. Today I will lay out just some of the evidence proving that we won this election, and we won it by a landslide. This was not a close election. You know, I say sometimes jokingly, but there's no joke about it. I've been in 2 elections. I won them both.
On a disagreements channel, the topic must be what you're currently discussing, right? Yes, not just any random thing somebody disagrees with.
And the second one, I won much bigger than the first, okay? Almost 75 million people voted for our campaign, the most of any incumbent president by far in the history of our country. 12 million more people than 4 years ago. And I was told by the real pollsters, we do have real pollsters, they know that we were going to do well and we were going to win. But I was told if I went from 63 million, which we had 4 years ago, to 60.
How's it going?
Pretty good. What do you got?
Yeah, I was wondering if you heard about the Trump scandal that he may have taken a $10 million bribe from Egypt.
Nope. I'll look it up tomorrow, though.
Okay, it's pretty spicy. Okay. After all this shit, I think I'm really confident Kamala's gonna win. What do you think?
It's just so hard to predict. Like, things swing so much. Right now, it seems like the Republicans are, completely imploding. But who knows? Because there could be a scandal next week. Somebody could do something or say something dumb. The Republicans could, rearrange themselves. Who knows? But yeah, right now, the Republicans are... Kamala's not even winning so much as the Republicans are just, like, throwing it so hard. They're just being so stupid. But yeah, we'll see.
All right, take care, dude.
Bye.
6 million, there was no chance of losing. Well, we didn't go to 66, we went to 75 million, and they say we lost, we didn't lose. And by the way, does anybody believe that Joe had 80 million votes? Does anybody believe that? He had 80 million computer votes. It's a disgrace. There's never been anything like that. You could take third world countries, just take a look. Take third world countries, their elections are more honest than what we've been going through in this country. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Even when you look at last night, They're all running around like chickens with their heads cut off with boxes, and nobody knows what the hell is going on. There's never been anything like this. We will not.
Can you give a few examples of how they're throwing for the uneducated? I think J.D. Vance was a bad pick. I think J.D. Vance is handling himself very poorly. I think that the Republicans constructing their entire campaign as one of negativity around Biden, I think hurts them a lot, because now that the Democrats were swapped out for Kamala, it's really hard for them to rebuild, because all of their steam that they were picking up before was just on attacking Biden and nothing positive, which is why they're having such a difficult time reorienting. I think that Donald Trump skipping a debate with Kamala Harris is going to end up looking really bad for him if he's demanding that it happen at basically a Trump rally at Fox News. The weird racist and sexist attacks that are happening against Kamala Harris, I don't think are playing very well. I don't think that's a good line of attack, and the people defending it are like very strange. The crazy reaction to just being called weird is kind of funny. This fixation on like this Olympic trans shit is like very dumb. I just don't think they're handling themselves very well right now. They've lost. The Republicans have already had an issue with Trump, especially over the past few years, of being positive, but they're losing, or they don't. I don't know if they stand for anything right now. They haven't stood for policy stood on policy for a long time, but now, I don't know. It's just, geez.
Let them silence your voices. We're not going to let it happen. Not going to let it happen. Thank you. And I'd love to have, if those tens of thousands of people would be allowed, the military, the Secret Service, and we want to thank you, and the police, law enforcement, great, you're doing a great job. But I'd love it if they could be allowed to come up here with us. Is that possible? Can you just let them come up, please? And Rudy, you did a great job.
I think so my goal, and I've never listened to this full speech before, right? So my goal in listening to this is I want quotes that refer to fighting, basically, because basically I want to be able to make it so anytime I'm in a future debate, when somebody's like, what about when he says they'll march peacefully? Okay, well, what about when 50 times he says, fight, right? So that's one thing that I want to be able to fixate on, because it's really stupid that they point to that one quote. It's like, okay, what about this? And also if he makes any references or allusions here to any of like his little plots or schemes, I'm just curious. Also, everything that the audience says and does goes towards like defining motivation and intent, right? The audience chanting "Fight for Trump," right? Is obviously all of this goes towards. So I just want like quotes and everything here, because the best faith Republicans or the best faith conservatives that I've debated are just saying like, okay, fine, yeah, there's bad stuff that happened, yeah, maybe there was a plot, but the people didn't know. Nobody knew what was happening. I think that the line of tweets that came from Trump in the weeks preceding this, I think that the speeches made prior to this, and then I think that the speech that Trump made himself, I think all point to the people probably knew.
Got guts. You know what? He's got guts. Unlike a lot of people in the Republican Party, he's got guts. He fights. And I'll tell you, thank you very much, John. Fantastic job. I watched. That's a tough act to follow, those two. John is one of the most brilliant lawyers in the country, and he looked at this and he said, what an absolute disgrace that this could be happening to our Constitution. And he looked at Mike Pence, and I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so. Because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. All he has to do, this is from the number one, or certainly one of the top constitutional lawyers in our country. He has the absolute right to do it. We're supposed to protect our country, support our Constitution, and protect our Constitution. States want to revote. The states got defrauded. They were given false information. They voted on it. Now they want to recertify. They want it back. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states.
When Trump says, I hope he does the right thing, does that mean he knows that Pence won't do it? Yes, Pence and his legal team have already rejected Trump's call here to coup the government. They've already said, I don't think I have the authority to coup. I don't think that we have the constitutional defense to coup. I don't think I can do this. So he already knows that Pence and his team they're don't want to do this idea. But remember, that's the point of the violence. That's the point of sending the crowd to the Capitol. That's why they're having this rally on this day. That's what they want these people to go and do, is to have enough violence, to have enough pressure that eventually it forces lawmakers, along with some of the lawmakers they've gotten on board, it forces them to decertify the election or just elect Trump president again. That's the whole point of all of this.
To recertify, and we become president, and you are the happiest people. And I just spoke to Mike. I said, Mike, that doesn't take courage. What takes courage is to do nothing. That takes courage. And then we're stuck with a president who lost the election by a lot, and we have to live with that for 4 more years. We're just not going to let that happen. Many of you have traveled from all across the nation to be here, and I want to thank you for the extraordinary love. That's what it is. There's never been a movement like this, ever, ever. For the extraordinary love for this amazing...
What does he mean by it takes courage to do nothing? I think it's more alluding to all the pressure. Remember, the goal for Trump is to turn up the pressure on people that aren't cooperating or working with him, right? I helped you get elected. I'm not going to help you again. You're not going to run in 2022. You're not going to have our support. You're all going to lose office. That's all pressure. This isn't explicitly violent. It's just saying that you're going to lose the support of Trump and MAGA if you don't help us, basically.
Amazing country and this amazing movement. Thank you. By the way, this goes all the way back past the Washington Monument. Do you believe this? Look at this. Unfortunately, they gave the press the prime seats. I can't stand that. No, but you look at that behind. I wish they'd flip those cameras and look behind you. That is the most amazing sight. When they make a mistake, you get to see it on television. Amazing. Amazing. All the way back. And don't worry, we will not take the name off the Washington Monument. We will not. Cancel culture. You know, they wanted to get rid of the Jefferson Memorial. Either take it down or just put somebody else in there. I don't think that's going to happen. It damn well better not. Although with this administration, if this happens, it could happen. You'll see some really bad things happen. They'll knock out Lincoln, too, by the way. They've been taking his statue down. But then we signed a little law. You hurt our monuments, you hurt our heroes, you go to jail for 10 years, and everything stopped. You notice that? It stopped. It all stopped. And they could use Rudy back in New York City, Rudy. They could use you. Your city's going to hell. They want Rudy Giuliani back in New York. We'll get a little younger version of Rudy. Is that okay, Rudy? We're gathered together in the heart of our nation's capital for one very, very basic and simple reason: to save our democracy. You know, most candidates on election evening, and of course, this thing goes on so long, they still don't have any idea what the votes are. We still have congressional seats under review. They have no idea. They've totally lost control. They've used the pandemic as a way of defrauding the people in a proper election. But you know, when you see this and when you see what's happening, number one, they all say, sir, we'll never let it happen again. I said, that's good, but what about 8 weeks ago? You know, they try and get you to go. They say, sir, in 4 years, you're guaranteed. I said, I'm not interested right now. Do me a favor, go back 8 weeks. I want to go back 8 weeks. Let's go back 8 weeks. We want to go back and we want to get this right, because we're going to have somebody in there that should not be in there, and our country will be destroyed, and we're not going to stand for that. For years, Democrats have gotten away with election fraud and weak Republicans, and that's what they are. There's so many weak Republicans, and we have great ones. Jim Jordan and some of these guys, they're out there fighting. The House guys are fighting. But it's incredible. Many of the Republicans, I helped them get in. I helped them get elected. I helped Mitch get elected. I could name 24 of them, let's say. I won't bore you with it. And then all of a sudden you have something like this, and it's like, oh, gee, maybe I'll talk to the president sometime later. No, it's amazing. The weak Republicans, they're pathetic Republicans, and that's what happens. If this happened to the Democrats, there'd be hell all over the country going on. There'd be hell all over the country. But just remember this, you're stronger, you're smarter, you've got more going than anybody, and they try and demean everybody having to do with us. And you're the real people. You're the people that built this nation. You're not the people that tore down our nation. The weak Republicans, and that's it, I really believe it. I think I'm going to use the term, the weak Republicans. You got a lot of them, and you got a lot of great ones, but you got a lot of weak ones. They've turned a blind eye, even as Democrats enacted policies that chipped away our jobs, weakened our military, threw open our borders, and put America last. Did you see the other day where Joe Biden said, I want to get rid of the America First policy? What's that all about? Get rid of, how do you say I want to get rid of America First? Even if you're going to do it, don't talk about it, right? Unbelievable what we have to go through. What we have to go through, and you have to get your people to fight. And if they don't fight, we have to primary the hell out of the ones that don't fight. You primary them. We're gonna let you know who they are. I could already tell you, frankly. But this year, using the pretext of the China virus and the scam of mail-in ballots, Democrats attempted the most brazen and outrageous election theft. And there's never been anything like this. It's a pure theft in American history. Everybody knows it. That election, our election, was over at 10 o'clock in the evening. We're leading Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, by hundreds of thousands of votes. And then late in the evening or early in the morning, boom, these explosions of bullshit. And all of a sudden, it started to happen. Don't forget when Romney got beat. Romney, did you see his? I wonder if he enjoyed his flight in last night. But when Romney got beaten, you know, he stands up like your more typical. Well, I'd like to congratulate the victor. The victor. Who was the victor, Mitt? I'd like to congratulate. They don't go and look at the facts. No, I don't know. He got slaughtered. Probably. Maybe it was okay. Maybe it was. That's what happened. But we look at the facts, and our election was so corrupt that in the history of this country, we've never seen anything like it. You can go all the way back. You know, America is blessed with elections all over the world. They talk about our elections. You know what the world says about us now? They say we don't have free and fair elections. And you know what else? We don't have a free and fair press. Our media is not free. It's not fair. It suppresses thought. It suppresses speech. And it's become the enemy of the people. It's become the enemy of the people. It's the biggest problem we have in this country. No third world countries would even attempt to do what we caught them doing. And you'll hear about that in just a few minutes. Republicans are constantly fighting like a boxer with his hands tied behind his back. It's like a boxer. And we want to be so nice. We want to be so respectful of everybody, including bad people. And we're going to have to fight much harder. And Mike Pence is going to have to come through for us. And if he doesn't, that will be a sad day for our country. Because you're sworn to uphold our Constitution. Now it is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down.
Oh, he did want to go.
Walk down, anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. Lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country. Our country. Our country has been under siege for a long time, far longer than this 4-year period. We've set it on a much straighter course, I thought, 4 more years, I thought it would be easy. We created the greatest economy in history. We rebuilt our military. We get you the biggest tax cuts in history, right? We got you the biggest regulation cuts. There's no president, whether it's 4 years, 8 years, or in one case more, got anywhere near the regulation cuts. It used to take 20 years to get a highway approved. Now we're down to
It feels like he actually is reading a prompter now. I think he is. This is a speech that was prepared before, because there was another draft of this speech I think made before this as well, right?
2. I want to get it down to 1, but we're down to 2. I didn't get rejected for environmental or safety reasons, but we got it down to safety. We created Space Force. Look at what we did. Our military has been totally rebuilt. So we create Space Force, which by and of itself is a major achievement for an administration. And with us, it's one of so many different things. Right to try. Everybody know about right to try. We did things that nobody ever thought possible. We took care of our vets. Our vets, the VA now, has the highest rating, 91%, the highest rating that it's had from the beginning. 91% approval rating. Always, you watch the VA. It was on television every night. People living in a horrible, horrible manner. We got that done. We got accountability done. We got it so that now in the VA, you don't have to wait for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 4 months to see a doctor.
No, Proud Boys would start the violent entry. I don't believe there's ever been any evidence shown that they knew anything about that. Hey, what's up?
Hello, short visit. Have you seen the cutesy stuff I have sent you on Discord?
No, not yet. I haven't gone through my DMs today yet.
If you don't mind, you can show it to DGG because I think it's very cute, and I'm not sure if everyone saw it like on Twitter or like on Reddit. So yeah, if you can show it, it's the cutesy DGG thank you from my friend Yevgen, and from we wrote DGG on the flag, and it's all like pretty cutesy. So if you can show it to the people.
I see it. Okay, cute, nice.
Yes, it is cute.
Так, це вже третя машина у
That's it pretty
нас,
much.
яку ви купили.
All I wanted. Yeah, bye bye.
The people have seen. Thank you very much.
Great.
Be careful.
Bye bye.
If you can't get a doctor, you go outside, you get the doctor, you have them taken care of, and we pay the doctor. And we've not only made life wonderful for so many people, we've saved tremendous amounts of money, far secondarily, but we've saved a lot of money. And now we have the right to fire bad people in the VA. We had 9,000 people that treated our veterans horribly. In prime time, they would not have treated our veterans badly, but they treated our veterans horribly. And we have what's called the VA Accountability Act. And the accountability says, if we see somebody in there that doesn't treat our vets well, or they steal, they rob, they do things badly, we say, Joe, you're fired, get out of here. Before, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that before. So we've taken care of things, we've done things like nobody's ever thought possible. And that's part of the reason that many people don't like us, because we've done too much. But we've done it quickly, and we were going to sit home and watch a big victory, and everybody had us down for a victory. It was going to be great. And now we're out here fighting. I said to somebody I was going to take a few days and relax after our big electoral victory. 10 o'clock, it was over, but I was going to take a few days. And I can say this. Since our election, I believe, which was such a catastrophe when I watched, and even these guys knew what happened. They know what happened. They're saying, wow, Pennsylvania's insurmountable. Wow, Wisconsin, look at the big leads we had, right? Even though the press said we're going to lose Wisconsin by 17 points. Even though the press said Ohio's going to be close, we set a record. Florida's going to be close, we set a record. Texas is going to be close. Texas is going to be close. We set a record. And we set a record with Hispanic, with the black community. We set a record with everybody. Today we see a very important event, though, because right over there, right there, we see the event going to take place. And I'm going to be watching, because history is going to be made. We're going to see whether or not we have great and courageous leaders, or whether or not we have leaders that should be ashamed of themselves throughout history, throughout eternity. They'll be ashamed. And you know what? If they do the wrong thing, we should never, ever forget that they did. Never forget. We should never, ever forget. With only 3 of the 7 states in question, we win the presidency of the United States. And by the way, it's much more important today than it was 24 hours ago. Because, I spoke to David Perdue, what a great person, and Kelly Loeffler, 2 great people. But it was a setup. And I said, we have no backline anymore. The only backline, the only line of demarcation, the only line that we have is the veto of the President of the United States. So this is now, what we're doing, a far more important election than it was 2 days ago. I want to thank the more than 140 members of the House. Those are warriors. They're over there working like you've never seen before, studying, talking, actually going all the way back, studying the roots of the Constitution, because they know we have the right to send a bad vote that was illegally gotten. They gave these people bad things to vote for, and they voted, because what did they know? And then when they found out a few weeks later, again, it took them 4 years to devise this screen. And the only unhappy person in the United States, single most unhappy, is Hillary Clinton, because she said, why didn't you do this for me 4 years ago? Why didn't you do this for me 4 years ago? Change the votes, 10,000 in Michigan. You could have changed the whole thing, but she's not too happy. You don't see her anymore. What happened? Where's Hillary? Where is she? But I want to thank all of those congressmen and women I also want to thank our 13 most courageous members of the U.S. Senate, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Josh Hawley, Kelly Loeffler. And Kelly Loeffler, I'll tell you, she's been so great. She worked so hard. So let's give her and David a little special hand because it was rigged against them. Let's give her and David, Kelly Loeffler, David Perdue. They fought a good race. They never had a shot. That equipment should never have been allowed to be used. And I was telling these people, don't let them use this stuff. Marcia Blackburn, terrific person. Mike Braun, Indiana. Steve Daines, great guy. Bill Haggerty, John Kennedy, James Langford, Cynthia Lumps.
Why do you keep typing this? I won't lie. Yes, the speech sounds really bad, but I think it's just because we know what will happen. We are biased because we know what happened on January 6th. Well, but what the illustration here is to show that like none of this was random. Like all of this is what they wanted from the very beginning. Like it was painfully obvious. Like it was communicated over and over and over again. Like all of this has been explicitly stated. Like none of this is even conspiratorial. Like it's all out in the open. The goal was to have Mike Pence change the election results on January 6th because Donald Trump wasn't happy with the election results. They didn't have any real support from the state legislatures. They didn't have any true legal theory to go through. They didn't have the backing of any of the legal counsel from the White House. They didn't have the vice president on board with them. They didn't have the state legislatures agreeing with them. They didn't actually find any voter fraud. They lost in every single federal and state case. They had to like find crackpot lawyers to lie about things. Fox News knew that they were lying when they spread the Dominion case. We saw that in the like every single part was like intentionally crafted and constructed for lie after lie after lie after lie to get people to show up on January 6th to protest the certification of the election. That's what the goal was publicly. And the rhetoric the entire time is that the election was stolen, everything was taken from you, they're about to steal the election from you. The only way we can do this is if people fight in the, fight in Congress to decertify the election. If Pence doesn't come through for us, right? Like like all of this is leading up to, like what happened was almost inevitable. Maybe if the Proud Boys wouldn't have been there, maybe it wouldn't have actually escalated to a violent thing because there wasn't you didn't have those frontline people to break down the barricades, maybe, but.
Tommy Tuberville, the coach, and Roger Marshall. We want to thank them. Senators have stepped up. We want to thank them. I actually think, though, it takes, again, more courage not to step up. And I think a lot of those people are going to find that out. And you better start looking at your leadership because your leadership has led you down the tubes. We don't want to give $2,000 to people. We want to give them $600. Oh, great. How does that play politically? Pretty good. And this has nothing to do with politics. But how does it play politically? China destroyed these people. We didn't destroy them. China destroyed them. Totally destroyed them. We want to give them $600. And they just wouldn't change. I said, give them $2,000. We'll pay it back. We'll pay it back fast. You already owe $26 trillion. Give them a couple of bucks. Let them live. Give them a couple of bucks. And some of the people here disagree with me on that, but I just say, look, you got to let people live. And how does that play, though? Okay, number one, it's the right thing to do. But how does that play politically? I think it's the primary reason, one of the primary reasons. The other was just pure cheating. That was the primary, super primary reason. But you can't do that. You've got to use your head. As you know, the media has constantly asserted the outrage.
If there had been no violence, just a protest march, would you still call it an insurrection? No, I would just call all the demonstrating itself would just be a protest or a riot. I guess if I got a little bit violent. But everything that Trump was doing was still a coup attempt, 100%. Even without any of this speech or anything, like you still got all the necessary elements for a coup attempt. But I would say that this was like an insurrection running in parallel with the coup attempt, where the insurrection was attempting to bolster the credibility or the probability of success of the coup event is what's happening.
They just lied that there was no evidence of widespread fraud. You ever see these people? While there is no evidence of fraud, oh really? Well, I'm going to read you pages. I hope you don't get bored listening to it. Promise? Don't get bored listening to it. All those hundreds of thousands of people back there. Move them up, please. Yeah. All these people, don't get bored. Don't get angry at me because you're going to get bored because it's so much. The American people do not believe the corrupt fake news anymore. They have ruined their reputation. But it used to be that they'd argue with me. I'd fight. So I'd fight, they'd fight, I'd fight, they'd fight. Boop, boop. You'd believe me, you'd believe them. Somebody comes out, they had their point of view, I had my point of view. But you'd have an argument. Now what they do is they go silent. It's called suppression. And that's what happens in a communist country. That's what they do. They suppress. You don't fight with them anymore, unless it's a bad story. If they have a little bad story about me, they make it 10 times worse and it's a major headline. But Hunter Biden, they don't talk about him. What happened to Hunter? Where's Hunter? Where's Hunter? They don't talk about him. Now watch, all the sets will go off. Well, they can't do that because they get good ratings. The ratings are too good. Now, where's Hunter? And how come Joe was allowed to give $1 billion of money to get rid of the prosecutor in Ukraine? How does that happen? I'd ask you that question. How does that happen? Can you imagine if I said that? If I said that, it would be a whole different ballgame. And how come Hunter gets $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife and gets hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit on an energy board, even though he admits he has no knowledge of energy? and millions of dollars up front. And how come they go into China and they leave with billions of dollars to manage? Have you managed money before? No, I haven't. Oh, that's good. Here's about $3 billion. No, they don't talk about that. No, we have a corrupt media. They've gone silent. They've gone dead. I now realize how good it was. If you go back 10 years, I realize how good, even though I didn't necessarily love them, I realized how good. It was like a cleansing motion, right? But we don't have that anymore. We don't have a fair media anymore. It's suppression. And you have to be very careful with that. And they've lost all credibility in this country. We will not be intimidated into accepting the hoaxes and the lies that we've been forced to believe. Over the past several weeks, we've amassed overwhelming evidence about a fake election. This is the presidential election. Last night was a little bit better because of the fact that we had a lot of eyes watching one specific state, but they cheated like hell anyway. You have one of the dumbest governors in the United States. And you know, when I endorsed him, I didn't know this guy. At the request of David Perdue, he said, a friend of mine's running for governor. What's his name? And you know the rest. He was in 4th place, 5th place. I don't know. He was doing poorly. I endorsed him. He went like a rocket ship and he won. And then I had to beat Stacey Abrams with this guy, Brian Kemp. I had to beat Stacey Abrams. And I had to beat Oprah. Used to be a friend of mine. You know, I was on her last show, or last week. She picked the 5 outstanding people. I don't think she thinks that anymore. Once I ran for president, I didn't notice there were too many calls coming in from Oprah. Believe it or not, she used to like me, but I was one of the 5 outstanding people. And I had a campaign against Michelle Obama and Barack Hussein Obama, against Stacey. And I had Brian Kemp. He weighs 130 pounds. He said he played offensive line in football. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm still trying to figure that out. Said that the other night. I was an offensive lineman. I'm saying, really? That must have been a very small team. But I look at that and I look at what's happened, and he turned out to be a disaster. This stuff happens. You know, look, I'm not happy with the Supreme Court. They love to rule against me. I picked 3 people. I fought like hell for them. One in particular, I fought. They all said, sir, cut him loose. He's killing us. Senators, you know, very loyal senators. They're very loyal people. Sir, cut him loose. He's killing us, sir. Cut him loose, sir. I must have gotten half of the senators. I said, no, I can't do that. It's unfair to him and it's unfair to the family. He didn't do anything wrong. They're made up stories. They were all made up stories. He didn't do anything wrong. Cut him loose, sir. I said, no, I won't do that. We got him through. And you know what? They couldn't give a damn. They couldn't give a damn. Let him rule the right way. But it almost seems that they're all going out of their way to hurt all of us and to hurt our country. To hurt our country. You know, I read a story in one of the newspapers recently how I control the 3 Supreme Court justices. I control them. They're puppets. I read it about Bill Barr, that he's my personal attorney, that he'll do anything for me. And I said, you know, it really is genius, because what they do is that, and it makes it really impossible for them to ever give you a victory, because all of a sudden Bill Barr changed, if you hadn't noticed. I like Bill Barr, but he changed because he didn't want to be considered my personal attorney. And the Supreme Court, they rule against me so much. You know why? Because the story is, I haven't spoken to any of them.
Bill Barr said that he didn't want to go along with sending fake letters out from the Department of Justice saying that there was voter fraud when they couldn't find any. And Bill Barr kept rebuking Trump on the Dominion voting machine stuff. And Trump was going around to everybody telling lies that the DOJ was finding stuff, and finally got to the point where Barr gave an interview with the Associated Press or with Reuters. I think it was the AP. And Barr was like, yeah, we looked at these machines. This is all bullshit. We're not saying any of this. This is all coming from Trump. And Trump got so fucking mad at some White House event or whatever. He like slammed a table, and then Barr like resigned that day or the next day or whatever. But that's what he's saying when he says Barr changed. I think that was on December 31st, maybe.
Any of them, since virtually they got in. But the story is that they're my puppet, right? That they're puppets. And now the only way they can get out of that, because they hate that, it's not good on the social circuit, that the only way they get out is to rule against Trump. So let's rule against Trump. And they do that, so I want to congratulate them. But it shows you the media's genius. In fact, probably if I was the media, I'd do it the same way. I hate to say it. But we got to get them straightened out. Today, for the sake of our democracy, for the sake of our Constitution, and for the sake of our children, we lay out the case for the entire world to hear. You want to hear it? In every single swing state, local officials, state officials, almost all Democrats, made illegal and unconstitutional changes to election procedures without the mandated approvals by the state legislatures. That these changes paved the way for fraud on a scale never seen before. And I think we can go a long way outside of our country when I say that. So just in a nutshell, you can't make a change on voting for a federal election unless the state legislature approves it. No judge can do it. Nobody can do it. Only a legislature. So as an example, in Pennsylvania or whatever, you have a Republican legislature, you have a Democrat mayor, and you have a lot of Democrats.
The reason why, again, the legislature, they're pointing to that, they're alluding to that clause, the electors clause, because that's what a lot of their coup attempt is riding on, is reinterpreting that to make the electors that they've chosen, the fraudulent electors they've chosen, like work, that the state legislature can truly do whatever the fuck they want. They have the power to do literally anything and overrule any other part of the state when it comes to choosing electors because of the wording in the Constitution there.
Over the place. They go to the legislature laughs at them, says, we're not going to do that. They say, thank you very much, and they go and make the changes themselves. They do it anyway. And that's totally illegal. That's totally illegal. You can't do that. In Pennsylvania, the Democrat Secretary of State and the Democrat state Supreme Court justices illegally abolished the signature verification requirements just 11 days prior to the election. So think of
What is he talking about when he says the states changed laws to affect? It's all bullshit. It's just all fake. It's all bullshit. If there were state laws being broken, then that should be brought up in a state forum. But they failed in almost all of these, on every single case except for one in Pennsylvania. I don't even know how consequential that was. But all of this was just bullshit. It was just based on this. It's again, this is all based on like Chesbro's and Eastman's kind of like weird, like bastard constitutional theory that the only people who can do anything with election rules is the state legislature. Nobody else is allowed to touch or do any of that. So all of that was illegal and unconstitutional. It's just all bullshit. It's all bullshit, crackpot legal theory.
what they did. No longer is there signature verification. Oh, that's okay. We want voter ID, by the way. But no longer is there signature verification. 11 days before the election, they say, we don't want it. You know why they don't want it? Because they want to cheat. That's the only reason. Who would even think of that? We don't want to verify a signature? There were over 205,000 more ballots counted in Pennsylvania. Now think of this. You had 205,000 more ballots than you had voters. That means you had 200. Where did they?
Same Pennsylvania lie. You'll probably do the Georgia ones as well with the ballot box and the running the votes 3 times. There's always the same lies that he repeats. This 205,000 Pennsylvania one, this has been debunked a million times behind the scenes over and over and over and over and over again.
They come from? You know where they came from? Somebody's imagination, whatever they needed. So in Pennsylvania, you had 205,000 more votes than you had voters. And the number's actually much greater than that now. That was as of a week ago. And this is a mathematical impossibility unless you want to say it's a total fraud. So Pennsylvania was defrauded. Over 8,000 ballots in Pennsylvania were cast by people whose names and dates of birth match individuals who died in 2020 and prior to the election. Think of that. Dead people. Lots of dead people, thousands. And some dead people actually requested an application. That bothers me a bit more. Not only are they voting, they want an application to vote. One of them was 29 years ago died. It's incredible. Over 14,000 ballots were cast by out-of-state voters. So these are voters that don't live in the state.
Did he just make up the 200,000 ballot number? It came from a theory like 2 or 3 weeks earlier. Basically, somebody looked at like the vote totals coming in, and then they went to the, I think it was the Pennsylvania Secretary of State website, and they saw the number listed on the website, and they said, look at the discrepancy, there's cheating going on. But then when they contacted the, I think the state secretary said, yeah, the number on the website isn't necessarily up to date. Like, if you look at our numbers, and we can like look at these and see these, like all of it makes sense. You're just going by an out-of-date number that's published on the website. That's your evidence. That was the only evidence. All of it is bullshit.
Hey. And by the way, these numbers are what they call outcome determinative, meaning these numbers far surpass. I lost by a very little bit. These numbers are massive, massive. More than 10,000 votes in Pennsylvania were illegally counted, even though they were received after Election Day. In other words,
is he just making this stuff up off the top of his head? No. These are all like bullshit stories that are circulating on like OAN or like kind of the fake bullshit media stuff. This is why when he was speaking to Raffensperger, this is why he used this expression that was so funny. When he was making accusations during the call, actually, we can just find it. Nope. Wait, this is a wildly inappropriate call.
Mr. President.
It was one of the funniest. This is such a funny fucking statement that he says. Where he's getting these claims from.
Thousands and thousands of ballots. And now what they're saying, oh, we're just cleaning up the office. You know, I don't think that plays.
Well, Mr. President, the problem you have with social media, people can say anything.
No, this isn't social media. This is Trump media. It's not social media. It's really not. It's not social media. I don't care about social, but I couldn't care less. Social media is big tech. Big tech.
It's not social media. It's Trump media. He's saying it out loud. Like it's just all bullshit claims that are coming through bullshit channels. That's it. Who started the stories? I don't know. You can chase down every one. The Georgia bullshit story, all of the things with Ruby Freeman, those all started with OAN. OAN put together a highly edited video that showed something purportedly to happen that wasn't. Giuliani picked up on that. He told Trump that. They parroted these claims. That video got debunked 50 billion times, but all of them still continued to make these same claims about Georgia. I don't know if he'll bring up the Georgia shit in here again, but we'll see.
After Election Day. Let's count them anyway. And what they did in many cases is they did fraud. They took the date and they moved it back so that it no longer is after Election Day. And more than 60,000 ballots in Pennsylvania were reported received back. They got back before they were ever supposedly mailed out. In other words, you got the ballot back before you mailed it, which is also logically and logistically impossible, right? Think of that one. You got the ballot back. Let's send the ballots. Oh, they've already been sent. But we got the ballot back before they were sent. I don't think that's too good, right? 25,000 ballots in Pennsylvania were requested by nursing home residents, all in a single giant batch, not legal, indicating an enormous illegal ballot harvesting operation. You're not allowed to do it. It's against the law. The day before the election, the state of Pennsylvania reported the number of absentee ballots that had been sent out. Yet this number was suddenly and drastically increased by 400,000 people. It was increased, nobody knows where it came from, by 400,000 ballots one day after the election. It remains totally unexplained. They said, well, we can't figure that. Now, that's many, many times what it would take to overthrow the state, just that one element. 400,000 ballots appeared from nowhere right after the election. By the way, Pennsylvania has now seen all of this. They didn't know because it was so quick. They had a vote, they voted. But now they see all this stuff. It's all come to light. It doesn't happen that fast. And they want to recertify their votes. They want to recertify. But the only way that can happen is if Mike Pence agrees to send it back. Mike Pence has to agree to send it back.
Ooh. Fuck. This talk is too long. Oh. They've never presented a single piece of evidence for these claims. Nope, not really. No. Just like bullshit affidavits. On the Georgia case, they left after court. Or I'm sorry, they dropped that case before it even got to court. Yeah.
And many people in Congress want to send back. And think of what you're doing. Let's say you don't do it. Somebody says, well, we have to obey the Constitution, and you are, because you're protecting our country and you're protecting the Constitution, so you are. But think of what happens. Let's say they're stiffs and they're stupid people, and they say, well, we really have no choice. Even though Pennsylvania and other states want to redo their votes, they want to see the numbers, they already have the numbers, go very quickly, and they want to redo their legislature. Because many of these votes were taken, as I said, because it wasn't approved by their legislature. You know, that in itself is legal, and then you have the scam, and that's all of the things that we're talking about. But think of this. If you don't do that, that means you will have a president of the United States for 4 years with his wonderful son. You will have a president who lost all of these
Did the states actually say they wanted to revote? No, that's a lie.
states. Or you will have a president, to put it another way, who was voted on by a bunch of stupid people who lost all of these states. You will have an illegitimate president. That's what you'll have. And we can't let that happen. These are the facts that you won't hear from the fake news media. It's all part of the suppression effort. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. In fact, when I started talking about that, I guarantee you a lot of the television sets and a lot of those cameras went off. And that's a lot of cameras back there. But a lot of them went off. But these are the things you don't hear about. You don't hear what you just heard. I'm going to go over a few more states. But you don't hear it by the people who want to deceive you and demoralize you and control you, big tech media. Just like the suppression polls that said, we're going to lose Wisconsin by 17 points. Well, we won Wisconsin. They don't have it that way because it was just by a little sliver. But they had me down the day before, Washington Post, ABC poll, down 17 points. I called up a real pollster. I said, what is that? Sir, that's called a suppression poll. I think you're going to win Wisconsin, sir. I said, but why don't they make it 4 or 5 points? Because then people vote. But when you're down 17, they say, hey, I'm not going to waste my time. I love the president, but there's no way. Despite that, we won Wisconsin. You're going to see. I mean, you'll see. But that's called suppression because a lot of people, when they see that, it's very interesting. This pollster said, sir, if you're down 3, 4, 5 people vote. When you go down 17, they say, let's go and have dinner and let's watch the presidential defeat tonight on television, darling. And just like the radical left tries to blacklist you on social media, every time I put out a tweet, that's even if it's totally correct, I get a flag. I get a flag. And they also don't let you get out. You know, on Twitter, it's very hard to come onto my account. It's very hard to get out a message. They don't let the message get out nearly like they should. But I've had many people say, I can't get on your Twitter. I don't care about Twitter. Twitter's bad news. They're all bad news. But you know what? If you want to get out a message, and if you want to go through big tech, social media, they are really, if you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, if you have a big voice, I guess they call it shadow ban, right? Shadow ban. They shadow ban you, and it should be illegal. I've been telling these Republicans, get rid of Section 230. And for some reason, Mitch and the group, they don't want to put it in there, and they don't realize that that's going to be the end of the Republican Party as we know it, but it's never going to be the end of us, never. Let them get out. Let the weak ones get out. This is a time for strength. They also want to indoctrinate your children in school by teaching them things that aren't so. They want to indoctrinate your children. It's all part of a comprehensive assault on our democracy, and the American people are finally standing up and saying, no, this crowd is, again, testament to it. I did no advertising. I did nothing. You do have some groups that are big supporters. I want to thank that, Amy and everybody. We have some incredible supporters. Incredible. But we didn't do anything. This just happened. 2 months ago, we had a massive crowd come down to Washington. I said, what are they there for? Sir, they're there for you. We have nothing to do with it. These groups they're forming all over the United States. And we got to remember.
Wait, what?
Just happened 2 months ago. Incredible. But we didn't do anything. We have some incredible supporters that are big supporters. I want to thank that, Amy and everybody. We have some incredible supporters. We have some groups that are big supporters. I want to thank that, Amy and everybody. And saying, no, this crowd is, again, testament to it. I did no advertising. I did nothing. You do have some groups that are big supporters. I want.
That's just a blatant lie. I've got like 5 or 10 different tweets where he's talking about see you on DC on January 6th. See you there, see you there, see you there. Like, of course he advertised for this. It's not true at all. But okay.
To thank that, Amy and everybody. We have some incredible supporters. Incredible. But we didn't do anything. This just happened. 2 months ago, we had a massive crowd come down to Washington. I said, what are they there for? Sir, they're there for you. We have nothing to do with it. These groups they're forming all over the United States. And we got to remember, in a year from now, you're going to start working on Congress. And we got to get rid of the weak Congress people, the ones that aren't any good, the Liz Cheneys of the world. We got to get rid of them. We got to get rid. You know, she never wants a soldier brought home. I brought a lot of our soldiers home. I don't know, somewhat like it. They're in countries that nobody even knows the name. Nobody knows where they are. They're dying. They're great, but they're dying. They're losing their arms, their legs, their face. I brought them back home, largely back home. Afghanistan, Iraq. Remember I used to say in the old days, don't go in Iraq, but if you go in, keep the oil. We didn't keep the oil. So stupid, these people. And Iraq has billions and billions of dollars now in the bank. And what did we do?
This is how our president talks about foreign policy.
We get nothing. We never get. But we do, actually. We kept the oil here. We did good. We got rid of the ISIS caliphate. We got rid of plenty of different things that everybody knows. And the rebuilding of our military in 3 years, people said it couldn't be done. And it was all made in the USA. All made in the USA. Best equipment in the world. In Wisconsin, corrupt Democrat-run cities deployed more than 500 illegal, unmanned, unsecured drop boxes, which collected a minimum of 91,000 unlawful votes. It was razor thin, the loss. This one thing alone is much more than we would need. But there are many things. They have these lock boxes, and you know, they pick them up and they disappear for 2 days. People would say, where's that box? They disappear. Nobody even knew where the hell it was. And
Was 2,000 Mules about Wisconsin? I wonder if he's referring to that. Oh, okay. It was 5 different states. Gotcha. Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. I wonder if that's what he's referring to for this.
In addition, over 170,000 absentee votes were counted in Wisconsin without a valid absentee ballot application. So they had a vote, but they had no application. And that's illegal in Wisconsin, meaning those votes were blatantly done in opposition to state law, and they came 100% from Democrat areas such as Milwaukee and Madison, 100%. In Madison, 17,000 votes were deposited in so-called human drop boxes. You know what that is, right? Where operatives stuffed thousands of unsecured ballots into duffel bags on park benches across the city in complete defiance of cease and desist letters from state legislature. The state legislature said don't do it. They're the only ones that can approve it. They gave tens of thousands of votes. They came in duffel bags. Where the hell did they come from? According to eyewitness testimony, Postal Service workers in Wisconsin were also instructed to illegally backdate approximately 100,000 ballots. The margin of difference in Wisconsin was less than 20,000 votes. Each one of these things alone wins us the state. Great state. We love the state. We won the state.
Just as a quick thing, just like a little stats thing, if you understand statistics or numbers, there's a lot of stuff you can understand or debunk just by knowing, just by like understanding how numbers work. Like there's one, I wish I could remember what the name of this thing is. There's a really cute way to go through data for like reported days or whatever, and you can just look at like either the last letter of somebody's name or like the day of the week something's reported on, and you can tell if the data is likely fabricated or not. There's a whole bunch of little stats tricks like this. Something that I talk about a lot for like medical research when it came to the ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine thing, the way that you could tell like a lot of the studies coming out from that were bullshit is might be Benford's law, maybe, was if there was a large study that came out, okay, you've got something called effect size, right? Which is basically like how much of an effect does a particular thing have? What's the magnitude of the effect that a particular thing has on another thing, right? So like a really large effect size, you might say that there's a medication that cures a disease, and you know, a small effect might be there's a medication that marginally alleviates some symptom or whatever, right? You know, effect size. For the ivermectin stuff, let's say that the average duration of COVID-19 was 14 days. If there would have been a really big study that came out, and said, we've looked at ivermectin and we've seen that ivermectin if administered at the correct time, can reduce the time spent sick by about a day, from like 14 to 13 days on average, that actually might be believable, right? Because if so much research exists and it's missing something, likely the thing that's being missed, unless there's some huge flaw in the study, in like all the design or whatever, probably the thing being missed is a very small effect size. It's unlikely that there's this huge body of research that's missing something that has a massive impact. It has a great magnitude, has a huge effect size. It's highly, highly, highly unlikely. So when you were having these people that were looking at all of these like prospective RCTs, double blind, that showed no effect whatsoever, and then you get these retrospective dog shit studies that would come out and say, actually, ivermectin 100% effective prophylactic. How could you possibly have an effect size that's so huge that's being missed by so many other researchers? And that's the issue with a lot of this voter fraud stuff too. If you look at it, you can kind of look at it in the same vein. You're telling me that all this huge voter fraud, hundreds of thousands of ballots worth of voter fraud existed. This effect size is huge. And every single person, every judge, every study, every video, every investigator, like all of these things are missing it. How is that possible, right? That's like one of the big, that should be like a huge clue that there's a lot of bullshit going on here. Somebody said, if you watch 2000 Mules, do you think it'd be worth watching to understand the claims from it? I did watch it. It was a horrendously flawed idea. That's a... 2000 Meals is something that should have died on the concept floor. The way that film worked was they basically bought from, I think, advertisers or something, a whole bunch of cell phone data. And what they did was they looked at the paths that all of the different cell phone GPSs tracked in a city. And what they did is they tried to find drop boxes. And then what they did was they said, okay, well, we've identified some cell phones that cross through the paths of a lot of these drop boxes. And we think that those people are illegally dropping ballots. That's it. That's it. That's 2000 Mules. That's the extent, that's the entirety of what that film is about. So for a billion reasons, we can say why this methodology is beyond fucking retarded, right? It could be a person that literally just works at a place. It could just be literally a route that you drive to work. There's a trillion different reasons why this is such a stupid method of trying to ascertain, mules taking massive voter ballots. If you wanted to make this assertion. Now, they did do a second part kind of this documentary that could have maybe proved this. And what they did was they put cameras at some of these ballot boxes to check on people dropping off multiple ballots. Now, if they could have linked an individual that was dropping off multiple ballots to one of these cell phone things and then tracked him across multiple ballot boxes, then you have maybe a strong argument for voter fraud. But instead, they just recorded ballot boxes. They found people dropping off multiple ballots and said, oh, this guy's cheating, with no evidence. So little evidence, in fact, that some of the people that they accused of cheating, of dropping off, of ballot harvesting, sued them. And not only was this film eventually pulled, but I believe that some people, there was like a black guy that was just dropping 4 ballots off, I think, for his family. Mark Anderson? Was this it? Or Mark Andrews? Fuck. I should look these lawsuits up. Was it this? Like, it's literally this guy drops off. I think he's like 4 or 5 ballots. And they say in the film, like, what are the chances that there are 4 or 5 voters that he's dropping ballots off for? And it's like, wait, what? Why, what? Wait, maybe it's literally just for his family. Wait, what? Yeah, it's actually wild how stupid, how retarded the methodology for this film was. It's like so stupid. It's so dumb. Like, you didn't even need to test this to know how stupid the methodology was for trying to figure out if there was actually any real voter fraud going on here. It was so dumb. I'm curious, how did these court cases turn out? I don't want to read through these whole fucking cases. Andrews versus D'Souza. Are these like ongoing, or? This is October 2nd, 2023. Oh, this is still in court, I'm guessing. So in 2003, it was proceeding to discovery. Ooh, I'm so curious. I want to see so much what comes out of discovery for this, if it hasn't happened yet. But anyway, yeah, just dog shit. It was a dog shit. I don't want to say it was a bad film because it's not even like this was a dead idea on arrival. Like as soon as they had the idea for this, somebody should be like, hey, this is probably not even a good way to figure out if voter fraud is. It was so stupid.
In Georgia, your Secretary of State, who I can't believe this guy's a Republican. He loves recording telephone conversations. You know, that was I thought it was a great conversation personally. So did a lot of other people. Love that conversation because it says what's going on. These people are crooked. They're 100%, in my opinion, one of the most corrupt. Between your governor and your Secretary of State. And now you have it again last night. Just take a look at what happened. What a mess. And the Democrat Party operatives entered into an illegal and unconstitutional settlement agreement that drastically weakened signature verification and other election security procedures. Stacey Abrams, she took them to lunch. And I beat her 2 years ago with a bad candidate, Brian Kemp. But the Democrats took the Republicans to lunch because the Secretary of State had no clue what the hell was happening. Unless he did have a clue. That's interesting. Maybe he was with the other side. But we've been trying to get verifications of signatures in Fulton County. They won't let us do it.
The same Fulton County thing he's brought up a billion times.
The only reason they won't is because we'll find things in the hundreds of thousands. Why wouldn't they let us verify signatures in Fulton County, which is known for being very corrupt? They won't do it. They go to some other county where you would live. I said, that's not the problem. The problem is Fulton County. Home of Stacey Abrams. She did a good job. I congratulate her. But it was done in such a way that we can't let this stuff happen. We won't have a country if it happens. As a result, Georgia's absentee ballot rejection rate was more than 10 times lower than previous levels because the criteria was so off. 48 counties in Georgia with thousands and thousands of votes rejected 0 ballots. There wasn't one ballot. In other words, in a year in which more mail-in ballots were sent than ever before and more people were voting by mail for the first time, the rejection rate was drastically lower than it had ever been before. The only way this can be explained is if tens of thousands of illegitimate votes were added to the tally. That's the only way you can explain it. By the way, you're talking about tens of thousands. If Georgia had merely rejected the same number of unlawful ballots as in other years, there should have been approximately 45,000 ballots rejected, far more than what we needed to win, just over 11,000. They should find those votes. They should absolutely
Assuming that every single one was for Biden.
find that. Just over 11,000 votes, that's all we need. They defrauded us out of a win in Georgia, and we're not going to forget it. There's only one reason the Democrats could possibly want to eliminate signature matching, oppose voter ID, and stop citizenship confirmation. Are you a citizenship? You're not allowed to ask that question. Because they want to steal the election. The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They're ruthless, and it's time that somebody did something about it. And Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution and for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now. I'm not hearing good stories. In Fulton County, Republican poll watchers were ejected, in some cases physically, from the room under the false pretense of a pipe burst. Water main burst, everybody leave, which we now know was a total lie. Then election officials pulled boxes, Democrats, and suitcases of ballots out from under a table. You all saw it on television. Totally fraudulent. And illegally scanned them.
Oh, this is the Ruby Freeman stuff, man.
Nearly 2 hours, totally unsupervised. Tens of thousands of votes. This act coincided with a mysterious vote dump of up to 100,000 votes for Joe Biden. Almost none for Trump. Oh, that sounds fair. That was at 1:34 a.m. The Georgia Secretary of State and pathetic governor of Georgia have reached, although he says I'm a great president. You know, I sort of maybe have to change. He said the other day, yes, I disagree with President, but he's been a great president. Oh, good, thanks. Thank you very much. Because of him and others. Yeah, Brian Kemp, vote him the hell out of office, please. Well, his rates are so low. You know, his approval rating now, I think it just reached a record low. They've rejected 5 separate appeals for an independent and comprehensive audit of signatures in Fulton County. Even without an audit, the number of fraudulent ballots that we've identified across the state is staggering. Over 10,300 ballots in Georgia were cast by individuals whose names and dates of birth match Georgia residents who died in 2020 and prior.
Do you think MAGA starts to fizzle out if Trump loses? Or do you think one of the kids picks up the torch? No. It's a cult of personality. Nobody can do what Trump has done. Once he's gone, it'll fizzle out, and the Republican Party will slowly rebuild itself. Although I don't know what the Republican Party is going to look like after Trump is gone, considering he's hijacked the entire party, and I don't know how depressed the voters are going to be after Trump is gone.
To the election. More than 2,500 ballots were cast by individuals whose names and dates of birth match incarcerated felons in Georgia prison, people who are not allowed to vote. More than 4,500 illegal ballots were cast by individuals who do not appear on the state's own voter rolls. Over 18,000 illegal ballots were cast by individuals who registered to vote using an address listed as vacant, according to the Postal Service. At least 88,000 ballots in Georgia were cast by people whose registrations were illegally backdated. 66,000 votes. Each one of these is far more than we need. 66,000 votes in Georgia were cast by individuals under the legal voting age. And at least 15,000 ballots were cast by individuals who moved out of the state prior to November 3rd election. They say they moved right back. They move right back. Oh, they moved out. They moved right back. Okay.
So like that's an explicit lie, right? They moved right back. Do you remember when he was talking to Raffensperger? They literally tell him that on the phone. Well, no, they sometimes they go back.
No, I don't think
they go back later. It's so funny because on the phone call, Trump's like, "Who does that? Who would want to go back to Georgia?"
Been through are people that lived in Georgia, moved to a different state, but then moved back to Georgia legitimately. And in many cases,
really, how many people do that? You mean they moved out and then they said, "Ah, the hell with it, I'll move back in"? You know, it doesn't sound like a very normal. You mean they moved out and what? They missed it so much that they wanted to move back in? Yeah, it's like. It's crazy.
Well, and they moved back in years ago. This is not like something just before the election. So there's something about that data that it's just not accurate.
Well, I don't know. All I know is that it is certified, and
so that's just one of many notes, right? This is a direct lie, right? This is a direct lie that he's literally heard on the phone weeks earlier.
Very normal. You mean
what was the date of this phone call? Fuck, I'm too lazy to go back and look it up. This is posted on January 3rd. So, I don't know. Maybe it was just a few days earlier, but he knows this is a lie. Regardless, he knows this is 100% a lie, but he still says it.
Individuals under the legal voting age, and at least 15,000 ballots were cast by individuals who moved out of the state.
Oh, January 2nd? Well, hi.
Prior to November 3rd election. They say they moved right back. They moved right back. Oh, they moved out. They moved right back. Okay. They miss Georgia that much. I do. I love Georgia. But it's a corrupt system. Despite all of this, the margin in Georgia is only 11,779 votes. Each and every one of these issues is enough to give us a victory in Georgia, a big, beautiful victory. Make no mistake, this election was stolen from you, from me, and from the country, and not a single swing state has conducted a comprehensive audit to remove the illegal ballots. This should absolutely occur in every single contested state before the election is certified. In the state of Arizona, over 36,000 ballots were illegally cast by non-citizens. 2,000 ballots were returned with no address. More than 22,000 ballots were returned before they were ever supposedly mailed out. They returned, but we haven't mailed them yet. 11,600 more ballots and votes were counted, more than there were actual voters. You see that? So you have more votes, again, than you have voters. 150,000 people registered in Maricopa County after the registration deadline. 103,000 ballots in the county were sent for electronic adjudication with no Republican observers. In Clark County, Nevada, the accuracy settings on signature verification machines were purposely lowered before they were used to count over 130,000 ballots. If you signed your name as Santa Claus, it would go through. There were also more than 42,000 double votes in Nevada. Over 150,000 people were hurt so badly by what took place, and 1,500 ballots were cast by individuals whose names and dates of birth matched Nevada residents who died in 2020 prior to November 3rd election. More than 8,000 votes were cast by individuals who had no address and probably didn't live there. The margin in Nevada is down at a very low number. Any of these things would have taken care of the situation. We would have won Nevada also. Every one of these we're going over, we win. In Michigan, quickly, the Secretary of State, a real great one, flooded the state with unsolicited mail-in ballot applications sent to every person on the rolls in direct violation of state law. More than 17,000 Michigan ballots were cast by individuals whose names and dates of birth match people who were deceased. In Wayne County, that's a great one. That's Detroit. 174,000 ballots were counted without being tied to an actual registered voter. Nobody knows where they came from. Also in Wayne County, poll watchers observed canvassers rescanning batches of ballots over and over again, up to 3 or 4 or 5 times. In Detroit, turnout was 139% of registered voters. Think of that. So you had 139% of the people in Detroit voting. This is in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. A career employee of the City of Detroit testified under penalty of perjury that she witnessed city workers coaching voters to vote straight Democrat while accompanying them to watch who they voted for. When a Republican came in, they wouldn't talk to him. The same worker was instructed not to ask for any voter ID and not to attempt to validate any signatures if they were Democrats. She also told to illegally and was told backdate ballots received after the deadline and reports that thousands and thousands of ballots were improperly backdated. That's Michigan.
After all this research, do you think he actually believes what he's saying? No, absolutely not. The pattern of behavior is like very clearly that of a liar. He's asking people to verify things or to find evidence or to send out things that are blatant lies. So, for instance, when he requested that the DOJ send out letters that are lies, when he's repeating lies that are obviously debunkable, like the Georgia shit is obviously debunkable. You can watch and it's been debunked. You can watch the video and see that the idea that there was some hidden box or that both ballots being counted multiple times is just a lie. Every single person that is trusted in government to do any kind of work or any kind of reporting, people that he's hired, people that he's appointed, are all telling him there's no voter fraud. None of this has happened. None of this is true. Over and over, every single person that's close to him is saying this. And then when he goes out and he intentionally finds people to give him opinions that he likes, it's because he knows he's lying. He knows he's being disingenuous.
Witnesses have testified under penalty of perjury that after officials in Detroit announced the last votes had been counted, tens of thousands of additional ballots arrived without required envelopes. Every single one was for a Democrat. I got no votes. At 6:31 a.m. in the early morning hours after voting had ended, Michigan suddenly reported 147,000 votes. An astounding 94% went to Joe Biden, who campaigned brilliantly from his basement. Only a couple of percentage points went to Trump. Such gigantic and one-sided vote dumps were only observed in a few swing states, and they were observed in the states where it was necessary. You know what's interesting? President Obama beat Biden in every state other than the swing states where Biden killed him, but the swing states were the ones that mattered. There were always just enough to push Joe Biden barely into the lead. We were ahead by a lot, and within a number of hours, we were losing by a little. In addition, there is the highly troubling matter of Dominion voting systems. In one Michigan county alone, 6,000 votes were switched.
Dominion is the big one that Barr pushed on as well. Barr actually managed to get a Dominion machine. The FBI looked over it. CSID, I think, made a statement about it. Barr said there's literally no evidence for any of these claims. Every single thing you're saying is bullshit. There's no source or good source. There's no good evidence for literally any of these claims. Nothing about the Dominion stuff. And you saw Fox News was intentionally lying about the Dominion stuff. That's why they got destroyed on their court case. And by destroyed on their court case, I mean they literally settled before it went to trial.
From Trump to Biden, and the same systems are used in the majority of states in our country. Senator William Ligon, a great gentleman, chairman of Georgia Senate Judiciary Subcommittee, Senator Ligon, highly respected, on elections, has written a letter describing his concerns with Dominion in Georgia. He wrote, and I quote, "The Dominion voting machines employed in Fulton County had an astronomical and astounding 93.67% error rate. It's only wrong 93% of the time. In the scanning of ballots requiring a review panel to adjudicate or determine the voter's interest. In over 106,000 ballots out of a total of 113,000. Think of it. You go in and you vote, and then they tell people who you're supposed to be voting for. They make up whatever they want. Nobody's ever even heard. They adjudicate your vote. They say, well, we don't think Trump wants to vote for Trump. We think he wants to vote for Biden. Put it down for Biden. The national average for such an error rate is far less than 1%, and yet you're at 93%. The source of this astronomical error rate must be identified to determine if these machines were set up or destroyed to allow for a third party to disregard the actual ballot cast by the registered voter. The letter continues, there is clear evidence that tens of thousands of votes were switched from President Trump to former Vice President Biden in several counties in Georgia. For example, in Bibb County, President Trump was reported to have 29,391 votes at 9:11 p.m. Eastern Time, while simultaneously Vice President Joe Biden was reported to have 17,213. Minutes later, just minutes, at the next update, these vote numbers switched, with President Trump going way down to 17,000 and Biden going way up to 29,391. And that was very quick, a 12,000 vote switch, all in Mr. Biden's favor. So, I mean, I could go on and on about this fraud that took place in every state, and all of these legislatures want this back. I don't want to do it to you because I love you and it's freezing out here. But I could just go on forever. I can tell you this.
Not cultish, by the way.
So when you hear, while there is no evidence to prove any wrongdoing, this is the most fraudulent thing anybody said. This is a criminal enterprise. This is a criminal enterprise. And the press will say, and I'm sure they won't put any of that on there because that's no good. You ever see, while there is no evidence to back President Trump's assertion, I could go on for another hour reading this stuff to you and telling you about it. There's never been anything like it. Think about it. Detroit had more votes than it had voters. Pennsylvania had 205,000 more votes than it had more votes. You don't have to go any, between that, I think that's almost better than dead people if you think, right? More votes than they had voters, and many other states also. It's a disgrace that the United States of America, tens of millions of people are allowed to go vote without so much as even showing identification. In no state is there any question or effort made to verify the identity, citizenship, residency, or eligibility of the votes cast. The Republicans have to get tougher. You're not going to have a Republican Party if you don't get tougher. They want to play so straight. They want to play so, sir, yes, the United States. The Constitution doesn't allow me to send them back to the states. Well, I say, yes, it does, because the Constitution says you have to protect our country, and you have to protect our Constitution, and you can't vote on fraud. And fraud breaks up everything, doesn't it? When you catch somebody in a fraud, you're allowed to go by very different rules. So I hope Mike has the courage to do what he has to do, and I hope he doesn't listen to the rhinos and the stupid people that he's listening to. It is also widely understood that the voter rolls are crammed full of non-citizens, felons, and people who have moved out of state, and individuals who are otherwise ineligible to vote. Yet Democrats oppose every effort to clean up their voter rolls. They don't want to clean them up. They're loaded. And how many people here know other people that when the hundreds of thousands and then millions of ballots got sent out, got 3, 4, 5, 6, and I heard one who got 7 ballots. And then they say, you didn't quite make it, sir. We won in a landslide. This was a landslide.
I know you already talked about this, but is there any reason why no one, not even you, seem to be aware about this, and specifically the January 6th committee? I was following it live because I thought it was a big deal. I don't know. Was I playing League at the time? I feel like the Republicans just do such a good job at setting the media diet. I don't know how they do it. They're very good at casting themselves as victim while still like holding on to the reins of what's going on. I thought that all the Russia shit was just bullshit. I thought everything was bullshit. I thought all it was like fake. I thought it was just like overblown by the Democrats over and over again, but it wasn't. One of the things we will do this, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. We're going to read the Mueller report too, because I think I was too harsh to the Mueller report. I think that Trump, with his admin, tried to kill that in a lot of different ways. And I think that there's a lot of interesting information. I'm familiar for, like, instance, the indictments that were produced from that. There was a lot of really good information there. But I think there's a lot of stuff in there that's worth engaging with, rather than just saying that it was all bullshit or didn't go anywhere. I don't think, I think I was too dismissive of that. But we'll just read through the whole thing. We will. It's a few hundred pages though, so it'll be boring.
Slide. They said it's not American to challenge the election. This is the most corrupt election in the history, maybe of the world. You know, you could go third world countries, but I don't think they had hundreds of thousands of votes, and they don't have voters for them. I mean, no matter where you go, nobody would think this. In fact, it's so egregious, it's so bad that a lot of people don't even believe it. It's so crazy that people don't even believe it. It can't be true. So they don't believe it. This is not just a matter of domestic politics. This is a matter of national security. So today, in addition to challenging the certification of the election, I'm calling on Congress and the state legislatures to quickly pass sweeping election reforms, and you better do it before we have no country left.
Like, I feel like I've said this in debates before, and people have challenged me, and I was like, the goal of this protest was not, it wasn't just a general protest, it was to challenge the certification of the election. Okay, and so Trump's like literally saying it word for word. And he's also kind of like, he's alluded to it a billion different ways, and said it directly like a billion different ways. Like, this is literally what the protest was about. Like,
today is not the end, it's just the beginning. With your help over the last 4 years, we built the greatest political movement in the history of our country, and nobody even challenges that. I say that over and over, and I never get challenged by the fake news, and they challenge almost everything we say. But our fight against the big donors, big media, big tech, and others is just getting started. This is the greatest in history. There's never been a movement like that. You look back there all the way to the Washington Monument. It's hard to believe. We must stop the steal, and then we must ensure that such outrageous election fraud never happens again, can never be allowed to happen again. But we're going forward. We'll take care of going forward. We got to take care of going back. Don't let them talk. Okay, well, we promise. I've had a lot of people. Sir, you're at 96% for 4 years. I said, I'm not interested right now. I'm interested in right there. With your help, we will finally pass powerful requirements for voter ID. You need an ID to cash your check. You need an ID to go to a bank, to buy alcohol, to drive a car. Every person should need to show an ID in order to cast your most important thing, a vote. We will also require proof of American citizenship in order to vote in American elections. We just had a good victory in court on that one, actually. We will ban ballot harvesting and prohibit the use of unsecured drop boxes to commit rampant fraud. These drop boxes are fraudulent. Therefore, they disappear, and then all of a sudden they show up. It's fraudulent. We will stop the practice of universal unsolicited mail-in balloting. We will clean up the voter rolls and ensure that every single person who casts a vote is a citizen of our country, a resident of the state in which they vote, and their vote is cast in a lawful and honest manner. We will restore the vital civic tradition of in-person voting on Election Day, so that voters can be fully informed when they make their choice. We will finally hold big tech accountable, and if these people had courage and guts, they would get rid of Section 230, something that no other company, no other person in America, in the world has. All of these tech monopolies are going to abuse their power and interfere in our elections, and it has to be stopped. And the Republicans have to get a lot tougher, and so should the Democrats. They should be regulated, investigated, and brought to justice under the fullest extent of the law. They're totally breaking
Israel invading Lebanon? I haven't followed anything for that right now.
The law. Together, we will drain the Washington swamp, and we will clean up the corruption in our nation's capital. We have done a big job on it, but you think it's easy? It's a dirty business. It's a dirty business. You have a lot of bad people out there. Despite everything we've been through, looking out all over this country and seeing fantastic crowds, although this, I think, is our all-time record. I think you have 250,000 people. 250,000! Looking out at all the amazing patriots here today, I have never been more confident in our nation's future. Well, I have to say we have to be a little bit careful. That's a nice statement, but we have to be a little careful with that statement. If we allow this group of people to illegally take over our country, because it's illegal when the votes are illegal, when the way they got there is illegal, when the states that vote are given false and fraudulent information. We are the greatest country on earth, and we are headed, and we're headed in the right direction. You know, the wall is built. We're doing record numbers at the wall. Now they want to take down the wall. Let's let everyone flow in. Let's let everybody flow in. We did a great job in the wall. Remember the wall? They said it could never be done. One of the largest infrastructure projects we've ever had in this country. And it's had a tremendous impact. And we got rid of catch and release. We got rid of all of the stuff that we had to live with.
They never built the wall. That's not true.
But now the caravans, they think Biden's getting in. The caravans are forming again. They want to come in again and rip off our country. Can't let it happen. As this enormous crowd shows, we have truth and justice on our side. We have a deep and enduring love for America in our hearts. We love our country. We have overwhelming pride in this great country, and we have it deep in our souls. Together we are determined to defend and preserve government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Our brightest days are before us. Our greatest achievements still wait. I think one of our great achievements will be election security, because nobody until I came along had any idea how corrupt our elections were. And again, most people would stand there at 9 o'clock in the evening and say, I want to thank you very much. And they go off to some other life. But I said, something's wrong here. Something's really wrong. Can't have happened. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Our exciting adventures and boldest endeavors have not yet begun. My fellow Americans, for our movement, for our children, and for our beloved country. And I say this, despite all that's happened, the best is yet to come. So we're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. And we're going to the Capitol, and we're going to try and give, the Democrats are hopeless. They're never voting for anything. Not even one vote. But we're going to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help, we're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country. So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I want to thank you all. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all for being here. This is incredible. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is Juicy Meth Guy a literal bot? Hasn't this question been asked like 10 times today? Now, when people are asking, why aren't you covering the stuff going on in the UK? What they're implying is right now, I haven't looked at it 100%, so I don't know what is going on, but the implication is that apparently Muslims are doing something bad in the UK, and obviously if the Muslims are doing something bad, the obvious answer is all immigration needs to stop and all brown people need to be deported, and the reason why I'm not covering this is because I'm either scared of saying that or I'm too scared to criticize Muslims because they either don't know my past or history, or there's just some racist, like 2-inch fat fucking dick loser Republican fuck who's in his basement who really wants me to shut on brown people. Like, that's the only reason they're asking over and over and over and over again. There are 50 billion events that are going on in the world at any particular point in time, but you have to talk about this one so that you can reaffirm my hatred for brown people and talk about how important it is to deport Muslims from the UK. And if you're not talking about it, it must be because you're compromised or you don't want to say bad things about Muslims. So, like, the same people that are saying I'm literally, like taking payments from Israel, which, by the way, hates Muslims more than any other fucking country, okay, as a matter of state policy, but I'm apparently getting paid by them, but also too scared to talk about Muslim immigration or whatever in the UK or Europe at the same time. It's just retards being retards. That's all it is. Where's Trump? Sorry, I want to see him wave. I'm just curious. Probably loaded up in one of these vehicles back here, maybe behind a tent. We don't even know if he's in this one. Is that Trump, do you think? I have no idea. No, we can't tell. There's no reason to think it is. Okay, maybe that is what he's saying. Supposedly, this is when he was upset and he wanted to go to the rally, but they didn't let him. I don't know how true that is or not. I think there's just a few people giving testimony from inside the vehicle.
This is a critical juncture for the Republic, and now is the time to wear our colors loud and proud. Go to holdtheline.com and use promo code ALEX.
Our exciting adventures and boldest endeavors have not yet begun. My fellow Americans, for our movement